bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, what up? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Monday, February 29th. 60 days into the new year, 304 days left. We are live from a bunker right here in downtown Burbank, California, deep underground. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet, I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Ah, yeah, first weekend off in over a month. And we worked all weekend, but there you go. I'm back in the saddle. Feels good. Tonight, we have very special guest, Dr. Michael Salla is with us. Been looking forward to this for a long time. Tomorrow night, Brad Olson is going to be here. And with a everything is fake type of evening, you know what we're talking about. That's going down tomorrow night. Wednesday, we have author Robin Maxwell and her new book, Atlantos, which I have right here in the bunker. Interesting read, by the way. And we'll be talking about that. Very interesting stuff. And then Thursday night, yes, comedian Ryan Singer will be here live in the studio to co-host Fader Night. Yeah. Call-in number tonight, as always, is 323-825-5045. And, man, I've been fighting this cold. I had a cold like 3 months ago. Got through it pretty good. And then, boom, Conscious Life Expo, I guess, man, shook way too many hands. And it's back. But I feel pretty good, considering Life Change Tea. That's all I got to say. I have never supplemented myself out like I have these last few days, and I actually feel pretty good right now. Oh, Life Change Tea. GetTheTea.com. Go and click on the banners. And, what I meant to say is I got like 3 or 4 different messages and emails over the weekend about how to get a program going, I guess is the best way to put it, what to do. I was like, man, just do the tea first. And then, get the tea, get the tea in your system first from getthetea.com. Do the super strength. Do that and then go for it. All right? And my thing is the moringa and colostrum with the tea. That's what I do. With a little eighth element thrown in for good measure. Just go to getthetea.com. The banners are right there. Drop my name, Jimmy, on your order, whether you phone in or do it online, and get yourself some free shipping. And, Studio Dome called us this morning, and I was like blown away. And they just wanted to say thank you. And I was like, right on. And they were like, no, you don't understand. Thank you. So to all of you, I'm saying thank you from Studio Dome. Okay? There you go. It was pretty cool. Started off with a text. Then it went to a full-on phone call. Man, you guys are the best. Studio Dome. Get that Fade or Not special. It is still running just for you guys. 60% off the normal price of $299. Go click on it. Wireless, portable, Bluetooth surround sound system for $99. You can't beat it. Best deal on the net anywhere. And you get free shipping. Okay, couple of big announcements. We will be at the New Living Expo, April 29th through May 1st in San Mateo, California, San Francisco. Yes, New Living Expo. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We'll be giving away some tickets and passes, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that. NewLivingExpo.com. Go and check it out. Yes. It's now official. New Living Expo, April 29th through May 1st, San Mateo, California. Absolutely extraordinary event. One of the biggest events in the country. And a great list of speakers, and it's all about consciousness and wellness, and it's going to be awesome. New Living Expo, April 29th through May 1st, newlivingexpo.com. All the information is there. Then, May. Right after that, Contact in the Desert, June 3rd through the 6th in Joshua Tree, California. And then the Roswell Festival, which is July 1st through the 4th in Roswell, New Mexico. And then UFOs Within Reach, August 19th through the 21st in Big Bear, California. Wow. Big summer. Big summer. Now, also, we got the word today. I can't really say too much, but on top of all of this big news, on top of everything, we got some really, 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 really big news today, and I think in about give it 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks, we'll make the other announcement that is pretty friggin' huge and pretty cool. Okay, so. Yeah, which has nothing to do with conferences or radio, for that matter. If you want to write for us, Fade to Blog, send an email to Rita. We are looking for the best and the brightest writers out there. All of you Fader-Knots are smart. Come and write for us. Email Rita at jimmychurch.com, jimmychurchradio.com. Let's get the show cracking. Today, I only have this, and it's a big one. Our dead guy's birthday today is Alex Rocco. Yeah, 1936 to 2015, died at the age of 79. Alex played Mo Green in The Godfather. One of the best scenes ever when he's getting the massage and he looks up and, pew, yeah, Mo Green. Oh, man, Alex Rocco. If you're going to play a role like that and be remembered, you want to be Alex Rocco playing Mo Green. Happy birthday. All right. Twitter, Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. Facebook and YouTube, everything is on the website. You can go follow, like, and subscribe. Go and click. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions or comments during the show for Michael Salla or myself, just use the hashtag F2BQ. Dead air on KGRA. Interesting. All right. That is interesting. Rita, there you go. Let's see. Where are we? Tonight, Michael Salla. Tomorrow night, Brad Olson. Wednesday night, Robin Maxwell. Thursday night, Ryan Singer. It's going to be a great week here on Fade to Black. On this day in history, 1996, actress and best-selling novelist Joan Collins won a judgment against Random House for $1 million. In 1990, Random House had offered Collins $4 million in a two-book deal, paid a $1.2 million advance with the rest due on delivery of the manuscripts. But when Collins turned in the first of the two books, the publishing house claimed it was unreadable and sued for the return of the advance. The court ruled in favor of Collins and then told Random House they had to pay her an additional $1 million for the work that she turned in. Yeah. Fader fact. The 100 richest people in the world earned enough money in 2012 to end global poverty by 4 times. And that is a fader fact. Well, all day today, let me just say this. All day today, I was bouncing channels, just kind of freaking out. And I'm not too sure what's going on, because to me, it's finally happened. It's real. And I talk about this all the time, but it's real. The Running Man was a 1987 science fiction action film loosely based on The Running Man by Stephen King, right? And Stephen wrote under his pseudonym Richard Bachman. The film starred Arnold Schwarzenegger, Maria Conchita Alonso, Jesse Ventura, Jim Brown, and Richard Dawson. And as you know, the movie was based in 2017. We're here. It's 2016. After a worldwide economic collapse, American society had become a police state, censoring all cultural activities. And the government pacified everybody by broadcasting game shows, reality shows, right? And one of them was The Running Man. Now, I'm not sure what we're witnessing right now. You know, we're not quite at the Running Man level yet, but it seems like we're really close. And the point is simple to me. Trump has managed to turn the POTUS race into a live reality show. All right? Now, this show isn't about politics, but it is certainly about the conspiracy. And we're watching this tripped out situation right now in front of us. It's a live reality show, and it's broadcasting to the world in real time. It's The Running Man. Listening and watching everyone over the last couple of days reminds me of exactly what Running Man was about. Or maybe the film Idiocracy. You know, you can throw some of that in there too as well. But we've arrived. We're there. Could we be witnessing right now a real-time implosion of Washington, D.C.? If you think about this, in our own lifetimes, you know what I mean? This stuff never goes down. It is status quo. Things just continue on. But things are rowdy right now. Every 4 years, politicians come and go. Some stay. But the politics of Washington move on. Nothing changes, and things are so ingrown, like some gnarly toenail, that it would seem impossible for anything different ever in our lifetimes, for sure. You know, and here we are. It's going down. And I guess what I'm saying is, we have two. Well, let me back up. 8 years ago, we elected our first black president. Okay? Some thought it would never happen, but it did. And it was supposed to be a big deal. But in the end, Washington didn't change. The world didn't change. And we found out something over the last 8 years, in my opinion. It doesn't matter who was in the Oval Office. Things just move on. You know, a black president was a big deal. But this time around, things are different. Really different. Listening to Washington just lose their minds. You know, if Trump makes it, if he does, you know, can't support him, can't vote for him, can't do, you know, what are they, you know, actually talking about, you know, falling apart? I mean, could we be witnessing something like that right now in our lifetimes? And it takes a situation like this. Look, they always say, be careful what you wish for, right? Be careful. And now somebody comes along that just honestly doesn't abide by their rules. It's good and it's bad. But I'm not so sure right now if, listening to Rubio, I didn't want to say his name out loud, but listening to him and Cruz just do all these personal, stupid attacks over the last couple of days, and Trump firing back, and it's crazy. It has nothing to do with our country and everything to do with reality television. And when everybody was talking about this reality TV thing, 6 months ago when this all started and the possibility of this arriving here, I don't think anybody thought that they would be in the positions that they are in today, which is discussing everything but our country. It's insane. And we are here. We are in the middle of this thing. It's like a little fishbowl, and it is playing out right in front of us. Things are different this time around. They're really, really different. There is a good chance right now that we will either have our first woman president, there's a good chance, or that we will have our first president who will call another head of state an idiot. That's where we're at. It's crazy times. And Washington, they don't know what to do. They really, really don't know what to do. The problem with Trump, for them, all the lobbyists and the lobby money and the status quo of the way that Washington runs is out the window. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that comes into play. And then if you have everybody in the Republican Party just so upset that they don't have a party anymore, think about that. In our lifetimes, we could see the disintegration of Washington. That status quo, and this is what I'm talking about here. Just listen. That status quo of Washington that just moves on. Nothing changes, moves on. Nothing has ever really changed. Taxes or unemployment or our roads and our bridges and just things. Nothing ever changes. And there's nothing that we can do about it, right? And here we are. We could see the implosion of everything. I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't support anybody. It's frightening. And when you think about these other candidates that are running, and I had said this about a month ago, I can't picture any. It's like a used car dealership, right? I can't picture any of them sitting in the Oval Office. Well, unfortunately, one of them is. It's crazy. We are at a crossroads, and I'm not too sure, why the cabal, why those that are running the big banks and the Fed would want the situation that we have right now. That's the conspiracy. It's crazy. I'm telling you, we are. 2016 is going to be a crazy year. It could either be great, or we could see some fundamental changes down to our very core. And you heard it here first. I'm serious. If you watch television or you follow what mass media is pushing on you, then you're ignoring or you're not seeing the big picture here. But I'm here to tell you, there is some fundamental changes on the horizon, big time, like we have never had before. All right. Yeah, man. I don't know what the agenda is with the cabal, man. I really don't. I don't. There are guys pulling strings. I've said it a million times. POTUS goes in to the Oval Office on his first day, and that phone rings, and he talks to the boss. I don't know who that boss is. This time around, it feels funky. I was actually with some friends over the weekend, and they were saying the same thing to me, that this is like the craziest election year ever. It's painful on both sides. I mean, it's like a paradox, right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's not just me. I'm telling you, fundamental changes are on the horizon, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun ride. All right, let's get to some of the news that you know nothing about. Today, George Kennedy died. Yeah, Oscar-winning George Kennedy. Cool Hand Luke, airport, Naked Gun. He was 91 years old. Totally bummed. He was the man. That dude was a rock. George Kennedy, 91 years old. The U.S. Army's elite Delta Force operations are now being used to target, capture, or kill top ISIS operatives, have officially begun in Iraq after several weeks of covert preparation. The group has spent the last several weeks preparing, including setting up safe houses, establishing informant networks, that's right, payoff, money, and coordinating operations with Iraqi and Peshmerga units. That's right. That's called boots on the ground. That's the real deal. Interesting. We'll see how that plays out. A federal magistrate judge in New York City has ruled that the United States government cannot force Apple to hack an iPhone to investigate a drug dealer. Yeah. No, not these San Bernardino killers. A drug dealer. It's a win for Apple. It's a win for all of us, which is being pressured by federal law enforcement agents to help it break into iPhones in at least 13 instances across the country. Apple says doing the federal government's bidding would undermine the security features in hundreds of millions of iPhones around the world. So far, the Department of Justice is relying on the All Writs Act, passed in 1789, which gives judges broad discretion in carrying out the law. And, you know, when this story broke last week, always remember, flip that over 180 degrees. You know, it was supposed to be about, right, the San Bernardino killer's phone. And now they're looking at 13 other cases and 13 other phones that they want cracked. You know, if the FBI is so good and the NSA is so good and the CIA is so good, go get it done on your own, but don't depend on Apple. That's a whole big bowl of wrong. An 11,000-year-old pendant made of shale. Now, I've seen the pictures of this, and it's incredible. 11,000-year-old pendant made of shale has been discovered at the Star Car Archaeological Site in North Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. Publishing in the journal Internet Archaeology, researchers from the University of York, University of Manchester, and the University of Chester note that its engravings make it the first of its kind found in Europe. 11,000 years old. It's now they almost thought it was just a rock. That's the crazy thing. Now it's kind of shaped triangle-ish, right? It's got a hole on the top. You know, it's a pendant, but it's got engravings on it, and it's 11,000 years old. It's absolutely incredible. One of the most incredible finds ever in the history of everything. You should check it out. Just go to our Facebook page. You can check out the pictures there, and maybe somebody has just already tweeted it out. Man, Twitter is on fire. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Earlier this week, Nissan deactivated the Nissan Connect EV app for its Leaf electric car. The automaker made the move after a computer researcher exposed a security issue that allowed hackers to view information and control features on others' Nissan Leaf EVs. Researcher Troy Hunt reportedly discovered the flaw last month before publishing his findings on his blog last Wednesday. According to Hunt, a flaw allows hackers to use the app to control the Leaf's climate control system simply by obtaining the vehicle's identification number, the VIN. The security flaw also provides access to the vehicle's battery state of charge, amongst other things. Pretty insane. SpaceX has scrubbed its third attempt to launch a commercial communication satellite from Cape Canaveral this past Sunday evening. Computers halted the ignition sequence just seconds before liftoff, and the reason was unclear. But apparently, the rocket was safe, according to SpaceX spokesman in Hawthorne, California. Crews were working to purge the engines and make sure there was no fire. No date has been set for another fourth launch attempt. The liftoff had been scheduled for 6:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but was delayed after a ship sailed into the edge of the keep-out zone, according to a tweet from SpaceX CEO Elon Musk. The company's first two attempts to launch the SES-9 satellite were scrubbed Wednesday and Thursday of last week. All right. Lastly, a new report written by a former Pentagon official who helped establish the United States policy on autonomous weapons argues that such weapons could be uncontrollable in real-world environments where they are subject to design failure as well as hacking, spoofing, and manipulation by adversaries. The new report was written by Paul Scher, who directs a program on the future of warfare at the Center for New American Security, a policy research group right there in Washington, D.C. In the report titled Autonomous Weapons and Operational Risk, set to be published actually yesterday, Mr. Scher warns about a range of real-world risk associated with weapon systems that are completely autonomous. The report can't contrast the completely automated systems, which have the ability to target and to kill without human intervention, to weapons that keep humans in the loop in the process of selecting and engaging targets. We're right there. I had read a report last week. The planes right now, right? F-35, the new B-21 bomber. This is the last round of piloted aircraft. That's it. That is it. Everything from here on out, after 2020, 2030, anything that's new on the horizon, no pilots. We need to really think about that's about as frightening as it gets for me. I mean, there you go. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Yeah, I'm fighting a cold. Can you tell? I'm all right. Feel a lot better today than I did yesterday. I'll tell you that right now. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Tonight, Michael Salla is with us. And I'll be right back. We'll get him in the batter's box. You stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National tax experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, Seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fade-or-Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Naval, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is truly bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. We'll do about 2,000-3,000 tweets tonight. Come hang out with us. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Dr. Michael E. Salla is a pioneer in the development of exopolitics, the political study of the key actors, institution, and processes associated with extraterrestrial life. Dr. Salla's books include Exopolitics, the Political Implications of the Extraterrestrial Presence, Exposing the U.S. Government Policies on Extraterrestrial Life, Galactic Diplomacy, Getting to Yes with E.T., Kennedy's Last Stand, Eisenhower UFOs, MJ-12, and JFK's assassination, and his most recent book, Insiders Reveal Secret Space Programs and Extraterrestrial Alliances. He analyzes whistleblower testimonies revealing the extent of classified space programs and extraterrestrial diplomacy. His website, of course, is exopolitics.org, and I would like to welcome, for the first time, Dr. Michael Salla. Michael, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm very well, Jimmy. Glad to be here.
Oh, when you give me that dramatic pause, I'm like, oh, no, we lost him. We lost him. So, welcome to the program. And it's been a long time coming, and I'm excited about tonight's show. But you get the Fade to Black disclaimer, man, the first-time guest disclaimer. And it's always exciting when I get to do this. It's just you and myself sitting on my couch, having a conversation as friends. And the conversation's going to go where it's going to go, but we're going to end as friends. Are you ready?
I am.
All right. Now, you're coming to us live from Hawaii, everybody. So if there is some communication issues, we'll fix it on the fly. But welcome to the program. And before we get started, there's especially over the last year with Corey Goode and David Wilcock and the Secret Space Program, and you're working with them on that. our little alternative world has been tipped over. And so we're going to spend a lot of time on that. But I want to go back actually to the early 2000s when you started to develop exopolitics and write your first book. Did you have any idea that you would be here today with the way things have started to develop, not only with Corey and David and yourself, but that we would be right here?
I did think that disclosure would happen a lot sooner. It just seemed that there were so many whistleblowers that were revealing the cover-up, and I began with Dr. Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project, and that was so compelling in terms of the evidence. But what I didn't count on was the reaction, the official reaction, which was to kind of like just ignore all the evidence, all of the whistleblowers coming forward. And what I thought would be kind of a fairly straightforward process of just really being able to present all of these testimonies and all of the documents and the evidence that they had to a kind of more professional audience, that just didn't happen. And fortunately, the 9/11 attacks in 2001, that was something that just kind of got the US and the world just going down a very different track to the disclosure track that I thought was going to be happening.
That's interesting, and that's a very interesting view. And yeah, you're right. With you know what? Let's do this really quick. For those, define exopolitics for us? What is the true definition?
Well, basically, my background was international politics. So international politics, you're studying politics at an international realm or level. With exopolitics, you're studying politics at outside of the conventional political sphere. So it's really everything else, which, of course, is going to be looking at politics involving extraterrestrial life. And so exo really is just that prefix you attach to a standard discipline like biology, like planetology. And so then you have like exoplanetology, exobiology, exopolitics, which is all looking at these disciplines outside of the conventional earthly paradigm.
Is it easy for Washington to look at this and start to define what needs to go into place when something does go down? Are they prepared for that? Is exopolitics a term that they look at and actually embrace?
Not so much. It has been something that has been becoming an issue or an approach that has been getting a lot more attention with the discovery of exoplanets. Exoplanets has basically brought the topic of extraterrestrial life into the kind of mainstream political arena, where now scientists and politicians are discussing what happens when we find life on one of these exoplanets that are being discovered at a faster pace every year. So now it's become part of the scientific debate, what happens when we find extraterrestrial life out there. But certainly a decade ago, before all of these exoplanets had been discovered, academic discussion of extraterrestrial life was really non-existent.
Have you had an experience yourself? In other words, what opened you up to this? There was an epiphany somewhere.
Well, basically for me, I was really trying to understand why it is that international conflict is such a pervasive phenomenon at the global arena because that was my academic specialty, and that's where I was trained, where I was doing my teaching and research and field work was international conflicts. I traveled to places like East Timor, Kosovo, Sri Lanka. I studied grants to go to Kashmir. So, these were the areas of politics that I was interested in, and the thing that I was always trying to understand was, why do these conflicts keep on getting worse despite the efforts of many scholars, diplomats to bring an end to them? And so that got me looking at a deeper level of politics, a kind of hidden level of politics. And so when Stephen Greer did his Disclosure Project press conference in 2001 in May, it opened my eyes to a much deeper level of international politics that I hadn't understood before. So now with that kind of deeper level of analysis, I was understanding why it is international conflict is such a pervasive thing. And so really it was just this interest in exopolitics and extraterrestrial life was really just an outgrowth of my scholarly research interests in trying to find out, what are the sources of international conflict.
Did you ever, did you study, let's go back a little bit in time here. Did you read Chariots of the Gods? Were you, Donald Kehoe and some of the other stuff that was happening in the early 70s? Were you reading any of that and researching any of that?
No, nothing at all. Up until 2001, I was a pretty conventional international scholar, and I was doing field work and trying to promote conflict resolution in those conflicts zones that I had visited. And these were, some of these were war zones, so it was a very, very dangerous work. I went into kind of military occupied territories. I had to pass through military checkpoints, had to deal with guerrillas operating at night, and I was kind of arrested once by the Indonesian security forces for wanting to talk to the guerrilla leaders, and so it definitely was a very dangerous occupation, but it was something that kind of prepared me for dealing with a reality that lies beneath the kind of the more conventional political discourse that you often see when it comes to what is really happening. So I was really focusing on that, and so I definitely wasn't at all familiar with the kind of work of von Daniken or Sitchin or so many others, Donald Kehoe, and it was only after 2001 that I started to pay attention, to the literature. But it was definitely I was on a fast learning curve, and I wasn't for example, familiar with some of the kind of mainstays of UFO research like Stanton Friedman and so forth. These were people I didn't know up until 2001.
Well, that's actually a really cool advantage, not only for yourself, but for us, too, as well, where you come in, you're not jaded, and your experience with politics and world issues, and you come into this world, then and then you've got to kind of go backwards and study the history, but you also can appreciate the struggle that ufology and researchers have been dealing with for decades.
Well, that's right, and it really took some time to really understand the different perspectives that exist to how to deal with this phenomenon, because simply speaking, when I came across the testimony of Stephen Greer's Whistleblowers, and his book, this Disclosure Project book, that had over 60 whistleblower testimonies in there, and that came out in 2002. To me, that was like this kind of Bible in terms of understanding what is really happening on the planet. And the more I read that, the more convinced I was that everything I had studied up until that time was just a chimera. It wasn't real, that this was what was really going on. And so, yes, I had to kind of look at what Greer had done and then try to deal with the UFO field that was trying to approach this as a scientific investigation, which was so bizarre to me, because this was not a scientific investigation. This was not a scientific problem. It was a political problem. It was basically a cover-up of a phenomenon that goes back to the 1930s and even earlier than that. And it deals with national security issues that have the highest kind of security classification. So clearly, the more I studied this phenomenon, I was convinced that this was no different to many of the other kind of political issues that I had been familiar with, just a much more complex and deeper phenomenon. But it was nothing like the kind of scientific investigation that UFO researchers were advocating. And so there was a really big kind of disciplinary divide in terms of, what the conventional ufologists were doing and what it was that Stephen Greer was doing and what it was that I was trying to do based on Stephen Greer's approach.
When did you think, now that you were able to look back into history, can you pinpoint where the cover-up started, where the disinfo started? It's interesting how you said 1930s, and I know where you might go with this, and so let's kind of pinpoint that, and then we're gonna surprise the audience, I think, with your answer.
Right. Well, of course, there's the books by Donald Kehoe, which analyze the UFO problem from the 1940s and 50s. And Kehoe was the first one to really introduce the kind of political aspect to the ufology problem. His book, The Flying Saucer Conspiracy, that was published, I believe it was in 1955, was really a very good early attempt to provide an exopolitical analysis to what was really going on regarding this UFO phenomenon. So that was a very kind of solid effort by a leading ufologist of the time to really provide a very kind of layered political analysis of this problem. But really, the literature, when you looked at it, it went even earlier than the 40s and the 50s in terms of the flying saucer phenomenon in the United States. It was really during the Second World War that this phenomenon took off, and there are many references to the Foo Fighters, to advanced German technologies, aerospace technologies, and even references to what was happening in terms of retrieved flying saucers in Germany, even prior to the Second World War. So those were some of the kind of early references that I found when I began to study this phenomenon back in 2001, 2002, that led to my first book on exopolitics, political implications.
And I've heard you mention before the retrieval in Italy.
That's right. This is something that I learned about quite a few years later as a result of the research of Italian ufologists. They found some fascist era documents basically revealing that in 1933 there was a flying saucer crash in Italy, that Benito Mussolini, the fascist leader, set up a top secret flying saucer research program, and that it was headed up by Guglielmo Marconi, the famous one of the two inventors credited with inventing the wireless radio, the other of course being Nikola Tesla. So this was well before the crash in Roswell in 1947. And so those documents are the first that confirm that there was a flying saucer crash as early as 1933, and that the Italians eventually shared that information with Nazi Germany.
Incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. And we always look at, 1947, you have the Battle of Los Angeles, too, as well. And of course, the other sightings that were famous in 1947. But nobody talks about this 1933 retrieval in Italy and the connection, of course, with Mussolini and Hitler and Nazi Germany, too, as well. It's a real eye-opener.
Well, no one really talks about it, but there was various Air Force investigations into the UFO phenomenon, its origins, and one of those referred to the early era of the Nazi Party for the beginning of advanced aerospace technologies in Germany. One of the things that really puzzled the British and the American military occupation forces was why it is that the German aerospace technologies were so far ahead of anything possessed by the Allies. Of course, the Germans had the first jet fighters, the first rockets, the V1 and the V2, and their testing of supersonic aircraft and wind tunnels kind of made them years ahead, even a decade or more ahead of anything possessed by the West. And so they were trying to understand where this all came from, and they kind of went to the early part of the 1930s as being when the German aerospace technologies really began to kind of take off.
Have you had a sighting yourself?
I have had some things, some sightings. In 2006, I went to James Gilliland Ranch in Mount Adams,
right.
And I saw things there that really did not look like satellites. They were doing some amazing things, but that happened, well after I had decided that this field was something very real, that the whistleblower testimonies were very credible, and that it opened up the political arena, or what was happening at the international political scene, in a way that nothing else really did. And so by the time I did have my first kind of flying saucer UFO sightings, I was already well and truly on the path of trying to understand what this phenomenon means.
And when you tell me about what you saw up at Gilliland's Ranch, was it with night vision and so forth?
No, it was naked eye, and James was doing these intention experiments where he would say, okay, there's something up there, and he called it a UFO, and basically he said, okay, well, just concentrate on it, send it thoughts of up, and then it would just pulse. It would pulse very brightly, and it would just kind of like do that for some time, and then it would dim, and then it would pulse again. And so this was something that he said was an indication that the beings on this craft were responding to the thoughts of the people on the ground, and so that was something that was very impressive. Certainly, it suggested that this could well be some craft intelligently guided that was monitoring the thoughts or the consciousness of the people that were basically looking at it.
That must have been a game changer for you.
It was very impressive. It was something that got me really kind of interested in what James Gilliland was doing in terms of setting up at Mount Adams a kind of diplomatic safe zone for extraterrestrials to show up, not only to do flyovers but even to land. I mean, he says that with smaller audiences that there have been landings and that there have been meetings. So, James Gilliland definitely is someone that in my mind is very credible, and that he's been doing some really important things up there at his SETI ranch in Mount Adams.
What before we move on and get to the current state of affairs, where do you think they are coming from? that's for me, that's key. Do you think it's interdimensional? Do you think it's the actual hypothesis coming into play that it's nuts and bolts spacecraft traveling across the universe? How are they getting here, and where do you think they're coming from?
Well, up until recently, I was pretty convinced that the majority of these cases involved extraterrestrials from different planetary systems, or even from our own solar system where there were bases, that they were conducting face-to-face meetings with private civilians, also having diplomatic meetings with important government leaders such as President Eisenhower. So that was something that up until recently I thought that the majority of the sightings involved extraterrestrial craft that were here on various assignments, and some were positive, intending to kind of like help humanity get ready for a kind of galactic age, and others were not really to the kind of best interests of humanity, performing a kind of more nefarious agenda. So I certainly didn't believe that they were only here for the kind of benefit of humanity. I thought that they were here on kind of mixed missions.
And what about, we're going to be headed towards a break really quick. In your book, Kennedy's Last Stand, Eisenhower, UFOs, MJ-12, and JFK's assassination, did you start to see a connection with all of this going back to Washington and, the Eisenhower Treaty and, of course, the MJ-12 documents, whether some of them are real or not? I don't think it really comes into play, but and then JFK's assassination, were you starting to connect the dots with all of this?
Oh, definitely. With that JFK book, the first chapter really begins with what I think is a critical event for the young John F. Kennedy. In July and August of 1945, Kennedy traveled to Germany as the guest of the then Secretary of the Navy, James Forrestal. And he was in Germany for several weeks as Forrestal was basically reviewing German scientific, aeronautical, and submarine technologies that the Navy was going to repatriate to the US for R&D purposes. And I think that what it was that Kennedy saw at that time, and what he was subsequently told by James Forrestal, with whom he maintained a close relationship up until Forrestal's untimely death in May of 1949. I think that was something that weighed very heavily on Kennedy. I believe that Kennedy was aware that Forrestal was a leading member of the Majestic 12 group that was in control of the extraterrestrial phenomenon, and that Forrestal tried to reveal the truth to the American public and basically was assassinated for that. And I think that when Kennedy came to power, I think as president, he used his commander-in-chief powers to try to get to the bottom of the flying saucer phenomenon, at least get the most up-to-date briefings on it. And then I think he was planning to disseminate this information more widely in the U.S. bureaucracy and eventually have some kind of public disclosure.
This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Dr. Michael Salla. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio for the Masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. More with Michael when we come back, and we're going to talk about his recent trip to San Diego, and we're going to start to blow the doors off this. I'll be right back. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. At JChurchRadio is Twitter. Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com is the email. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
People love to shop. What if you could shop and it was actually good for you? What if you could actually purchase items that bettered your life? What goes into your body is important to what quality of life you have. How about shopping for items that better your health? GetTheT.com is that shopping place. We're not only tea, even though that's our #1 seller, we are about helping your health. There's Colostrum LD for those of you with autoimmune troubles. The product helps your stomach get on track. GI problems produce pain. Get relief with Colostrum LD. How about some fat burners? Or maybe some joint aid? Or a power cleanse? There's so much to tell you with very little time. So get help health-wise at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Or you can call our friendly operators at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Get help and relief by going shopping. Shop at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Serving people with great products for over 8 years. GetTheT.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Our guest tonight is Dr. Michael E. Salla. He is a pioneer in the development of exopolitics, the political study of the key actors, institutions, and processes associated with extraterrestrial life. Now, Michael, you just got back from San Diego, and what were you doing there?
I was interviewing a whistleblower who only recently has emerged, and his story is quite amazing. And what makes him very different is that he has really many documents, hundreds of documents that actually substantiate his testimony that in the 1940s he was working for the U.S. Navy as an intelligence agent and disseminating advanced aerospace technologies that the Navy was gaining from Nazi Germany embedded spies, that the Navy had its operatives finding out what the Germans were doing with these advanced technologies, and that the Navy actually had found out what they were and was disseminating this to various advanced think tanks, corporations, and scientific institutions throughout the United States.
How old is he?
At the moment, he's 92. He's going to be turning 93 very shortly. So this is a man who has incredible experience, who lived through the Second World War. And incidentally, Jimmy, I mean, he actually was a witness to the Los Angeles air raid. So he actually saw that. He was living in Long Beach, California at the time, and basically witnessed what it was that had happened then during the air raid in 42.
You know, that is still one of the more incredible, encounters that we have, had. And the more that I look at that photograph on the cover of the LA Times, the more disturbed I am by it. It's an extraordinary event. And this is the crazy part. I don't know if you know this. A lot of people died, but they died like in car accidents, having heart attacks, witnessing what was going on. It was an extraordinary event, and I don't know what's in that photograph, but it doesn't look like, I don't want to say weather balloon, but it doesn't look like some kind of blimp or observational platform or anything that the Navy would have had. We would have known about it, and it doesn't look like anything else conventional. It's a pretty disturbing photograph. Now, what was in his documents? And can you disclose some of that?
Well, his documents basically reveal his role in this Navy espionage program that they were running out of Nazi Germany. He was recruited into that program because he was essentially a child prodigy. He had this amazing memory and this attention for detail in ship design. And because of his abilities in building scaled models of Navy ships that were so accurate that the Navy used them in various demonstrations. Because of that, he was recruited by Navy intelligence to basically sit in on the debriefings of these spies that were in Germany and were being flown back to the United States on a 6-month rotation period to basically debrief what it was that they had witnessed while embedded within these top-secret German facilities. And based on the debriefings, Tompkins' job, William Tompkins is the name of this new whistleblower, his job was to put together an information package that would basically make it clear exactly what it was that the Nazis were designing. And he would then take these designs to various aerospace organizations, facilities in the United States at the time. So he went to the Caltech facility, which was at China Lake. He went to the Douglas Aircraft Corporation facility. He went to Lockheed. He went to MIT. He went to the Warminster Naval Center in Pennsylvania. He basically traveled wherever the Navy, the Army, or there were any advanced kind of aerospace program that were trying to develop an understanding of what the Nazis were doing or develop an American response to that. He gave these debriefings based on what it was that he had seen, or what it was that the Navy spies had seen. And so his job was basically to just take these debriefing, these packages to these different places, and he had documents basically substantiating that was indeed what he was doing at the time.
And there's a direct extraterrestrial connection here?
That's the kind of really amazing thing here, Jimmy, because what Tompkins reveals is that as early as 1941, the United States Navy and the other active military branches at the time were aware that Nazi Germany was working with a group of extraterrestrials called the reptilians, that this was something that Tompkins says that the Navy spies were reporting. And this was something that I talked to him about during the interview in San Diego. We did a number of interviews. I was with Dr. Robert Wood, who was the editor of the book by Tompkins. And Tompkins went into more information about how the Navy spies learned about this. Basically, what he said was that even though the Navy spies didn't see the reptilians themselves, they said that the German scientists and military officers were saying that the Germans were being helped by a race of extraterrestrial visitors that looked like reptilians. So this was something that was common knowledge within the really advanced compartmentalized aerospace programs that Nazi Germany was conducting at the time, that was very separate from the kind of more conventional aircraft projects that were pursued as part of the kind of German war effort that was headed by Albert Speer, who was running the German armaments ministry. Albert Speer, in his he wrote several books about what it was that he witnessed, and he never talked about these advanced projects because he simply was not involved with them. These were run by the Nazi SS, and the Nazi SS, as he revealed, ran a separate technology and economic sector to the conventional German war armaments ministry. So Albert Speer basically said that there was a shadow government operating within Germany at the time, behind the more conventional war ministry and the projects that they were pursuing to equip Nazi Germany for the war effort. Right. There was a parallel program run by the SS.
Now, to be clear, so I'm understanding what you're saying here. He has documents that are dated 1941 that mention reptilians. Am I understanding you correctly?
He doesn't have documents mentioning reptilians. What he has are documents confirming that he actually was working out of the Naval Air Station out of San Diego, that he had orders from the Department of the Navy. His mission orders involved him being a disseminator of advanced aerospace technologies, and he has these packages, evidence packages that basically shows that he was disseminating this technology to various aspects or various aerospace corporations and think tanks through the United States. So he doesn't have documents mentioning reptilians. He says that this is what he heard when he was sitting in the debriefings, because his job was to basically listen to the debriefings of the Navy spies and draw accurate models of the craft that the spies had seen. He wasn't there to interpret their data. That was another level of analysis that the Navy would have done. But his job was to basically, hear what the Navy spies were saying about the various craft that the Nazis were designing, and then basically relay that on to the aerospace industries. But he says that the Navy spies talked about where this information for building these advanced craft were coming from, and the Navy spies said that the sources within Nazi Germany were saying that it was coming from this extraterrestrial race, the reptilians.
That's incredible. And his job was to remember and then to recreate these craft, and he drew them himself.
Exactly. That was his job, to basically ask the the Navy spies, well, what did the craft look like? How it was shaped? Were there armaments on it? Did you notice a propulsion system somewhere? Was there any kind of navigation device? And as they answered these kinds of questions, he would put together a scaled diagram or illustration of what it was that they were describing. And then he would take that off to Caltech or off to MIT or off to Lockheed or Douglas Aircraft Corporation and have these different aerospace corporations basically look at the designs and then ask questions about what it was that they were seeing. So that was Tompkins' job.
What can you describe what were in some of these drawings?
Tompkins said that the Nazis had developed 30 different types of flying saucer craft. They ranged from kind of fighters to kind of surveillance to transports to craft whose job was to basically haul cargo and so forth. So this was a very sophisticated technology program that was hidden throughout occupied Germany and also in Antarctica and South America, that Tompkins, and this is why his testimony is so important, because he corroborates some of the things that Corey Good has said about the Germans having relocated the bulk of their advanced aerospace or flying saucer technologies out of Germany, even before the Second World War, into remote locations in Antarctica. What Tompkins says is that actually the reptilian extraterrestrials invited the Nazis to remote locations in Antarctica to go there and to build out some of the caverns that the reptilians had earlier used in Antarctica. So Tompkins' information really is eye-opening, because not only were the Nazis being helped in developing advanced aerospace technologies and flying saucers by these reptilians throughout the war, that the Nazis were also given specific locations in Antarctica to travel to, where they would find these underground caverns, and they would be able to use these as bases for basically developing their programs. And according to Tompkins, I mean, he said, he basically said that 7 million people were moved from Europe to these 3 bases in Antarctica throughout the Second World War era, which is an incredible number.
Well, now, and you have to relate that directly to Admiral Byrd, where, his alleged quote, which I believe that he said, that there were aircraft down there that could fly pole to pole, right? And what he saw was extraordinary. Is this verification of Byrd's statements? And can Tompkins actually nail this? I mean, is it in the documents? I guess what I'm asking you, Michael, do you feel confident in what Tompkins is representing here about Antarctica and Operation High Jump and Byrd to actually now have taken place? Because it's almost urban legend with us, with you and I and our circle. But is this the concrete proof we've been looking for?
It's definitely very powerful evidence here, because you have the eyewitness testimony of someone who really was quite accomplished in the aerospace industry, someone with multiple documents, as I said, hundreds of documents that confirm that he had very senior positions in various leading aerospace corporations, and that he was involved in various top secret programs. So this is something that Tompkins said that he learned about while he was working for Navy intelligence from 1941 to 45 about the Nazis having established bases in Antarctica. And then subsequent to that, when he began working with the various aerospace corporations, and the one that was very pertinent to the Admiral Byrd incident was when Tompkins was working with the Douglas Aircraft Corporation from 1950 up until 1963, that there were Navy admirals that were basically coming in and basically advising Tompkins' team or the people that Tompkins was working with on what it was that the Navy needed, and they were getting intelligence information about what had happened in Antarctica. And according to Tompkins, what had happened in Antarctica was that when Admiral Byrd's expedition went down there, as they approached the South Pole, as they approached New Schwabenland, which is where the three Nazi Antarctic bases were located in that kind of Queen Maud land, as they approached, there were two waves of flying saucers. According to Tompkins, there was a total of 30 flying saucer craft that flew out of the ocean. The first wave basically attacked the naval armada, and the second wave did the same roughly 24 hours later. And the combined result of that attack was that all of the Navy's aircraft were destroyed. Several of the ships, of the larger ships, the destroyers, were destroyed. Many of the smaller support ships were destroyed, and basically the rest of the armada was really at the mercy of the flying saucers that had come out of Antarctica. But the Nazis had no interest in basically obliterating the Naval Expedition Task Force 68. What they wanted to do was basically give the US Navy a very bloody nose, get them to turn back and return to Washington and basically say that whatever it was that was going on down there in Antarctica is not something that the current technologies of the United States enables them to in any way assert national security interests over that.
Does Tompkins, did he give you any indication about what's going on now currently in Antarctica?
He didn't talk about that currently. What he did say essentially is that while the reptilians were helping the Nazis both during the war and in Antarctica, another group of extraterrestrials, the Nordics, were helping the United States Navy in developing the Solar Warden program. So according to Tompkins, while he was at Douglas Aircraft Corporation in the top secret advanced design, and he was in that section from 1951 to 1963. He says that there were three Nordic extraterrestrials that were embedded within the Douglas Aircraft bureaucracy, who were helping Tompkins and other people in the advanced design develop the necessary space battle fleets that the Navy would need to eventually assert itself in our solar system. So basically what Tompkins was saying was that our planet was being pulled into an already ongoing galactic war between two groups of extraterrestrials, the reptilians and these Nordic extraterrestrials, and that the Nazis had chosen to work with the reptilians, and that the United States Navy, at least in the 1950s, was working with the Nordics, and we can conclude that probably it happened a lot earlier, even during the Second World War, that the British and the Americans and the Russians were being helped by Nordic extraterrestrials as well to be able to defeat the Nazis.
Is Tompkins, he's 92 years old, is he ready to go fully public as a whistleblower and bring his documents forward and start to speak directly on this?
Definitely. He wrote a book that was edited with Dr. Robert Wood that was published in December of 2015, so very recent. In there, he has some of the documents that basically substantiate his claims of having worked with Navy intelligence at San Diego at the Naval Air Station San Diego in these debriefings. And yes, he's very ready to go public and to reveal to the world what is going on. Because essentially, Jimmy, he says that in the year 2001, which, as I mentioned, it's strange that this is the same year that Stephen Greer got his Disclosure Project press conference launched, and it was the year that I got drawn into this. He says that in 2001, he approached a 4-star admiral by the name of Hugh Webster, who at the time was the executive director of the U.S. Navy League, and basically said, well, I want to spill the beans on what I experienced, and can I do it? And the Navy League is an organization that has been very heavily involved behind the scenes in these secret space programs. And that's something that he's going to discuss more in his the second volume of his autobiography. He has told me a little bit about that, but he basically will reveal documents concerning that in the second volume. But nevertheless, he was given the go-ahead in 2001 by this 4-star admiral to reveal his story and to back it up with documents. And so he began working on his autobiography. In 2009, he met with Dr. Robert Wood, who is a very well-known researcher associated with the Majestic documents, who also worked with the Douglas Aircraft Corporation at the same time, and many of the people that Tompkins described in his autobiography in terms of running this advanced design section within Douglas Aircraft Corporation that was basically working on these Navy spacecraft battle fleets. This was something that Dr. Robert Wood, he was familiar with those people, even though Wood was not actually part of that compartmentalized program. He was familiar with the people running it. And so when he heard Tompkins describe these people and what they did and their expertise, he was convinced that Tompkins was the real deal, that he really did experience the things that he was describing. And so he chose to help Tompkins. And so he became the editor of the book, and it came out in, as I said, December of last year. And both Tompkins and Wood are available to basically share what they know of the projects that were being conducted at the Douglas Aircraft Corporation.
Well, Robert Woods is, his reputation is solid and great, and we all respect him. But what was your opinion? We've got 30 seconds here really quick, and then we'll pick it up after the break. What did you think about Tompkins' demeanor?
When I saw him, he was very straight. I mean, he just basically was talking about things that he directly experienced. He was recalling from memory key experiences that he had back in the 1940s, and then with these different corporations during his long career. And it's ongoing. We're talking about him even now.
Let me jump in. We'll pick up the rest of that right after the break. Michael, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. More with Michael Salla right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds, and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got. Nature's Youth, and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest, who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923, and like them on Facebook, and you'll be included in contests and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Michael Salla is with us. Talking exopolitics, whistleblowers. It's been a great conversation so far. Michael, one of the things that that I have a genuine lack of trust in is, and I'm not referring directly to Tompkins at all, but what I mean is those famous deathbed confessions that have surfaced over, the last few years. And I watch those and I just look at the face, I look at the eyes and the demeanor of what's going on. I'm like, you know what? I don't need this. And ufology and disclosure and everything that we're dealing with right now doesn't need this. And that's why it's so important for me for Tompkins, because he's referencing things that nobody else has ever talked about before in the past. And I find that extraordinary. And he's got the documents to back it up. But more important to me is the way that he speaks and how he carries himself. And you feel pretty good about that.
I do. I mean, his body language was very clear. There wasn't any kind of fidgeting. he would make eye contact as he spoke, and there wasn't kind of much movement of his hands, indicating any kind of deception or anything like that. I mean, he was a man really just recalling his experiences and explaining the documents that he had in his possession. And, he did a kind of a slideshow for myself and Dr. Wood, revealing his involvement in various programs that the Navy had put together to basically deal with the whole extraterrestrial phenomenon, and his involvement in that. And basically, this is a man with vast experience who has been given the go-ahead to come forward and talk about this. And that was very interesting when I basically asked him, in 2001 he was given the go-ahead. So does that mean that he is part of a Navy-sanctioned disclosure initiative? He said, yes, that's exactly what it is that he is part of. And that began in 2001. And as I kind of briefly mentioned in the last segment, that coincides with Greer's disclosure project. That's when I actually came on board as well.
Right.
And that the Navy is moving ahead on this, that they are really part of the disclosure wave. And people like Tompkins are coming forward, and that there are others also kind of waiting in the wings who are also kind of like ready to disclose their involvement and their documents. And that's the most important thing here, is because we've had a lot of whistleblowers over the years, but now with Tompkins, you have a lot of documents substantiating many of the things that he's claiming.
Now, what about the danger of disinfo and the chance that this could be, a setup?
Well, that's something you kind of have to develop a sixth sense for that.
Exactly.
Because that is something that, even before I got involved in this whole kind of UFO extraterrestrial phenomenon, it was the same thing when I was doing human rights work in these conflict zones. There was a lot of disinformation. The government officials would say everything is fine, nothing's happening, and there would be witnesses who were telling you these horrendous tales of abuse and maltreatment by government authorities. And so, you have to develop a sixth sense, and, for field work, you do that. That's part of the work. Who's telling the truth? Who is it? What really helps, though, is when you're able to kind of look at the documents, when you're able to kind of cross-reference the testimonies of these whistleblowers. And so, Tompkins is the first forward to say these things about the Nazis being involved in these advanced aerospace technologies, and that the Nazis had made contact with extraterrestrials. But he's certainly the first to support that with documents showing his involvement in that process, because he was involved in the process, because he was taking the results of these debriefings to aerospace companies in the United States to basically help them start their R&D programs on flying saucers.
Now, I'm sure that there was one of those documents as he was, going over things with you and Wood, where you just went, holy crap, right? I know there was one. What was that document?
It was a list of Navy officers that were involved in a program that the U.S. Navy had set up to basically expose Navy officials and their children to extraterrestrial contact. So the Navy was basically doing this, that they were training their people for this. So there's a list of documents of officers' names.
Say that again. That was a holy crap moment for me. Okay,
yes.
He had a list of names of Navy officers that were exposing their family to ET contact?
Exactly, that these Navy officers, commanders, captains, they were part of a Navy program to acclimate senior Navy officials to extraterrestrial contact, where they would meet with extraterrestrials, that their children were exposed to extraterrestrials in these classroom situations, so that these Navy officers and their children were prepared for the day when contact would become a kind of like would go open. So Tompkins showed me this list of Navy officers, and there was, their names, their addresses, their identification characteristics, and their how to get in touch with these people. So it was like, this was amazing, and so I have a copy of that. And this is something, obviously, that I just can't reveal because I'm going to have to contact these Navy officers and see if any of them are prepared to go on the record to say that they were part of this Navy program. So this is going to take a bit of follow-up work. But here we have lists of documents. List of Navy officers that were involved. And yes, Tompkins shared that with Dr. Wood and I.
That's insane. Now, okay, I've got about 20 questions for you now. That's absolutely amazing. What are you saying? That did Tompkins know if in this classroom setting the exposure, was it with an actual ET or was it like a picture? I'm confused. Well, what was he suggesting?
It was both. It was basically using intelligence technologies, basically information technologies to educate the officers and their children about extraterrestrials. So Tompkins described these holographic technologies that would provide kind of like very visually interactive experiences about human history, about key events, about the history of galactic civilizations.
Wow.
So basically these information technologies were being used to educate the officers and their children. And there were also kind of less advanced technologies to just kind of give the basics, and also extraterrestrials would also be involved. So it was kind of like a tiered education program. Tompkins' involvement with this began in 1980, I believe it was 1984 to 1999. It's going to be something that he covers in detail in the second volume of his autobiography, and he's working on that now. But basically, this is where these different information technologies were used. Some of the more conventional technologies that we're familiar with in terms of like computers, that school kids would be involved with these, but others were much more sophisticated holographic technologies where people would have these kind of like interactive experiences.
And the list that you saw, did Tompkins suggest that this indoctrination actually did occur, that the program did actually happen, or was this a suggested program of interaction?
Oh no, Tompkins actually helped set it up, because one of the things about Tompkins is that, and his first book is titled "Selected by Extraterrestrials,"
right?
And basically, what happened was that when he was working at Douglas Aircraft Corporation at the Advanced Design think tank from 1951 up until 1963, he worked with these three extraterrestrials that were embedded within the Douglas Aircraft Corporation. They wouldn't reveal themselves openly to everyone, but to people like Tompkins, they did reveal themselves. And essentially, I think the best way to describe it is that they saw Tompkins as one of them, as kind of like a human who kind of like incarnational history, if you like. We would call it a starseed, that Tompkins was a starseed. But basically, Tompkins was viewed as one of them. So he could telepathically communicate with them, as well as communicate with them on a daily basis, as you would with people in a kind of very intense work environment. And so they would give him information about the design of these fleets of spacecraft, because one of the things that Tompkins said was happening in the advanced aerospace technology sector was that with the space programs that were being developed at Douglas and by NASA and RAND and other kind of think tanks, there were anti-gravity technologies as well as rocket technologies that were being developed, and that both of these were subject to sabotage by reptilian spies or Nazis that were still working that had infiltrated the U.S. military-industrial complex. But similarly, Nordic extraterrestrials had infiltrated the military-industrial complex and were basically helping people like Tompkins to prevent this kind of sabotage by reptilians or the Nazis that was going on. And so Tompkins was being helped by these extraterrestrials. And so by the time he finished his corporate career and retired, that was around 84, when he finished working with General Dynamics out of Crystal City. He was working with them from 1981 to 84. So then in 85, he moves over to Oregon and he begins working with the Navy League and basically sets up an education program for the Navy League. I was preparing people for contact.
Yeah, I was doing the math in my head as you said all of that. I was getting ready to ask, okay, he's 92 now, so he would have retired, let's pull round numbers, 62. So that's 30 years ago. So we're talking about 1984, when the reptilian sabotage was going on, and the Nordics came in. Was this in the 1970s? Was this in the 60s? Did he give any indication as to when this was going on?
Yes, he said it was throughout the 1950s and the 1960s. Both the anti-gravity technology programs and the rocket propulsion programs were being sabotaged by these reptilian and Nazi assets that were embedded in all the major aerospace corporations. And Tompkins said that basically he had his work cut out, because he said that essentially what would happen would be that as they were making breakthroughs at Douglas Aircraft Corporation with these anti-gravity technologies or advanced kind of rocket propulsion technologies for the Apollo program, because the Apollo program was going to be much more ambitious than what we have been led to believe. That these programs were all sabotaged by top engineers suddenly disappearing or being relocated out of advanced design into other areas. So there were all these various forms of sabotage. So it really was kind of this process was ongoing throughout the 50s and 60s. And Tompkins was very deeply involved in the Navy in the Apollo program that was actually, according to Tompkins, a secret Navy program that had 4 stages. And one of the stages was putting 10,000 personnel on 5 moon bases. That the Apollo program was really just the first stage. That the second stage of Apollo was to send these massive Nova rocket craft to the moon to begin building these Navy bases, so that eventually when the anti-gravity space battle fleets were completed in the 1980s, already have a presence on the moon and a presence on Mars using these giant Nova rocket ships that had 10 times the payload capability to the Saturn V rocket.
The sabotage you're referring to is interesting, because with everything that we, sported out of Germany, with the V2 program and, bringing all of their technology over, and Operation Paperclip, and we still, the Soviets beat us to space. And we were being sabotaged from the inside. There's no question about that. We should have, got everything done by 1955, and it just didn't happen. We were sabotaged from the very beginning with the German Nazi scientists. There's no question about that. And it's interesting how Tompkins confirms this, albeit a reptilian influence nonetheless, but a German reptilian influence. I find that very interesting. It's a fascinating point.
Yeah, well, it is. And again, this is another important correlating fact in terms of what it was that Corey Goode has revealed. That Corey Goode said that as a result of the Nazi and reptilian interaction or alliance, that they eventually set this dark fleet. And that dark fleet became a very powerful space program that took off in the 1940s and 50s. Tompkins confirmed that. He said that was exactly what had happened. He didn't know of Corey Goode, of course, when he wrote his autobiography. And it was only when Robert Wood actually bought a copy of my book, Insiders Reveal Secret Space Programs, and showed it to Tompkins, that Tompkins said, "Oh, holy crap! This is what I wrote about. This is what happened." That he was shocked that someone else had actually revealed this information, because as you probably know, in my book, I base it a lot around Corey Goode's testimony and just kind of trace it back in terms of historical documents and other whistleblowers of what had happened. But the development of the Dark Fleet or the Nazi reptilian secret space program was something that Tompkins confirmed actually did happen.
There's one thing I want to talk about Corey for a second. When I talk about demeanor, and I talk about, somebody's face and their eyes and so forth. Corey's been on this show a few times. David's been on the show many, many times. But I finally got to meet Corey in person. And the Corey that is on this show, right? I haven't met him yet. And the guy that I met in person, two different people, in that he carries himself. I was just blown away by his integrity. I'm serious too, Michael. I looked right at him and just went, "Wow, Corey, it's an honor to meet you and to because he was not what I expected. In fact, I don't even know what I expected, Michael. To be honest with you, but he's a man, and he carries himself with dignity and respect, and I was blown away by that. Does he hit you the same way that he hit me?
Oh, exactly. Yes. He's a truth teller. He is just revealing what he has directly experienced. And there's no agenda. I found no agenda.
Right.
What's refreshing about Corey is that he doesn't have any kind of overall perspective or agenda that he wants to sell, that ETs are good or all they're demons, or, he's just revealing the facts and the experiences that he directly has first-hand knowledge about. And he's not going into what other people have experienced, which is what I like about him as well, because this is one of the problems with that occasionally other whistleblowers get into, is that they begin to kind of lose that perspective of what it is that they've directly experienced, right, and what others have experienced. And I don't know if it's because it's kind of like the dreaded UFO disease. You want to stay relevant, and so you kind of like color your testimony with what others have said.
That's right.
But with Corey, it's like everything, he just talks about what he has directly experienced, and if he has an experience that he doesn't talk about it, and I find that very refreshing. And yes, I think that his testimony really has opened the doors. Yeah, and I'll be honest, he really did change my life. Up until the time I had come across Corey's testimony, I was pretty fixated on the idea that the UFO phenomenon really involved extraterrestrials. That was kind of like 90% of UFO sightings involved extraterrestrials. Well, now I think that the majority of it actually involves these secret space programs. That the extraterrestrial element is a much smaller percentage of that.
Were you able to, with Tompkins, take all of the information that you have with Corey and other whistleblowers and start to cross-reference and start to verify some of the facts as you know it?
I'm just starting that process. I mean, this was my first interview with Tompkins, and basically it was to get to see his documents and get to copy them. And now I'm beginning the process of basically analyzing the documents and fact checking. For example, that list of Navy officers. I'm going to be calling these people and saying, well, did you really experience this? That's the process that now I'm undertaking. But it's going to be a process. It's going to take some time, but definitely cross-referencing what Tompkins has in his possession in terms of his documents, as well as what he's written in his book. And I've already begun that process. On my website, there's 4 articles at the moment where I talk about some of Tompkins' testimony as it is in his book, and reference that or cross-reference that with some of Corey Goode's testimony, and it cross-references very well. And I think that one of the things that I found particularly fascinating was that Corey refers to these smart glass pads that he had access to from 1987 to 2007, and that it had all of these intelligence briefings on what was going on in the secret space programs. What I believe formed the core of that were the same Navy debriefings that William Tompkins heard from 1941 to 1945. That Tompkins debriefings, and we have to be clear about this, that Tompkins said that there were 28 Navy spies that were being rotated in and out of the United States on a 6-month basis, and every time they would come, they would debrief for about, for several days, 4 or 5 days sometimes, and that every day he would listen to these debriefings and then basically disseminate the debriefings to various corporations. So this was going on. So there were we're talking about over 1,000 debriefings over the course of the Second World War that these Navy spies had shared with the US Navy that formed a large corpus of the Navy intelligence files on secret space programs, the Nazis, cooperation with the reptilians, and what had happened subsequently. And I think that those early Navy debriefings that William Tompkins sat in from 1941 to 44 were included in the smart glass pads that Corey Goode saw from 1987 to 2007. Mm-hmm. And so it's not surprising to me that their information correlates so well.
With and nobody knows documents better than Robert Wood. I think we can all say that, right, as a fact. These documents that you're talking about, and we're going to be up against a break, Michael, in 60 seconds, and we can finish this on the back half. Does he have the originals? That's the first thing. And second, has Robert started to look at these and analyze them to get the provenance on them and to make sure that everything is on the up and up?
Well, yes, that process has begun. The thing is, Tompkins literally has hundreds of documents, and so this is something that Robert Wood is needing some help with in terms of following up on these documents. And so that's so I've begun collaborating with him in that regard to kind of reference and fact check these documents, because we're talking hundreds of documents, and Robert Wood is also helping William Tompkins with the editing of the second volume. So and Robert Wood is also he's in his late 80s, and so clearly this is a long-term process, and he is trying to identify the key documents that Tompkins has that is going to substantiate his testimony that there were these compartmentalized programs involving extraterrestrials and anti-gravity craft. And so...
well, let me jump in. We just blew past the network break right there. We're going to pick this up in the back half. Do you want to take some phone calls, Michael?
Very happy to.
Okay. We'll open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. Any questions for Michael Salla? Let's do this. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Why do people order Life Change Tea? Because Life Change Tea helps the digestive system. Life Change Tea helps the colon unclog. The tea also helps with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and many, many other health issues. Life Change Tea also tastes great. And Life Change Tea is not just green tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs that go to town, cleaning your body of harmful toxins, bacteria, and parasites. Our tea is number 1. Are you ready for your life change? Let the tea help you. Log on to our online store of helpful products to get your body on track. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Not all tea is equal. Read our website of all the factual testimonies that prove that Life Change Tea is working. Health is important, and our quality of life is very important. Don't wait to order. Expect a life change with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood, not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses. What a conversation tonight. Yeah, you can tell. I love learning. I love learning. Dr. Michael Salla is a pioneer in the development of exopolitics, the political study of the key factors of, oh man, look at these phone lines are going nuts. Institutions and processes associated with extraterrestrial life. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Dr. Michael Salla. Who's calling?
This is Nelson from Jersey.
Hey, Nelson. Say hi to Michael.
What's going on, Michael? 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 What's going on Great conversation tonight.
Yeah, it is a great conversation. Did you have a question?
Well, I had a question / comment. I don't know if you're familiar with the newer series of Star Trek Enterprise, but they had actually touched upon like that whole Nazi / reptilian like collaboration. There was like a whole season in that like it kind of went over like a whole bunch of things they were trying to do. I mean, I guess they dipped into their own story about it, but it was really eerie how that whole series of Star Trek Enterprise like went through that whole exopolitics and how everything went back and forth between our I guess the 21st century space program, and how everything was so secretive about being connected with.
You bring up a really good point. You bring up a good point, Nelson, and thank you for the phone call, brother. Michael, he brings up a good point. It's like it's gone mainstream. You know, it was on the fringe a few years ago, but you know, when it goes mainstream like that, I think it's a big deal. Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Say hi to Michael Salla.
Hello.
Okay, turn me down in the background. Okay, you got to turn. Okay, there you go. Who's calling?
Rex Steinkuhler.
Hi, Rex. How are you? Say hi to Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Rex.
Do you have a question, Rex?
Well, I may be out of sync because I'm listening. It says listen live, but I don't know where you're actually at right now. Does that make sense?
I'm not following you.
All right, never mind.
Okay, all right. So much for that, Michael. I'm not sure where he was going with that. I want to go back to Robert Wood, and his experience with documents is second to none. And so typefaces, typewriters, paper, the dating, how things are structured on government documents and how they're titled and the flow, and there were certain standards, tied with everything. He knows what he's looking at. You know what I mean? And so how does he feel about Tompkins' documents?
As far as Tompkins' documents are concerned, the authentication process is still at an early stage. I mean, what he has in his possession are copies of Tompkins' original documents, but we're talking about original letters or other documents that Tompkins gained during his long career in the aerospace industry. So these are things that are not that difficult to verify in terms of authentication. One of the things that we are working on now is to kind of like identify the Navy admiral that was running the espionage program out of the Naval Air Station out of San Diego from 1941 to 45. His name is Admiral Rick Obata, according to Tompkins. And Tompkins has passes that were personally signed by the Admiral that allowed Tompkins to leave the Naval Air Station facility with which is very strong confirmation that Tompkins was in fact carrying intelligence briefing documents to other locations as he claims. But the thing is, in trying to do any kind of open source inquiry into Admiral Rick Obata, we've hit a dead end. We can't find him. According to Tompkins, Obata was part of Navy intelligence, and they're very good at kind of like whitewashing people. And this is why what happened with Obata. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do now, because those passes Tompkins has are very important in substantiating his testimony, and of course they are signed by a person who was running the Navy's intelligence program. So we have to do some kind of document verification in that case, and I'm hoping that as I begin to go through this list of Navy officers from that dates from 1985. That some of those people will have some information about Obata and the Navy intelligence program that was put in place to deal with extraterrestrial life.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Michael Salla. Who's calling?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Jimmy. It's John in New Hampshire.
Hey, John. How are you, man?
Not bad. Not bad.
Great
dinner.
Great show tonight, huh?
Yeah, it really is. It's an awesome show. I'll take my answer off air because I'm cooking right now.
Okay.
But I was just curious if for Michael, if the Greys had anything to do in between the Nordic and the reptilian agenda with the Nazis and the Americans during World War II, if they have ever come up at all in your investigations or anything.
Great question. Thank you.
That's interesting. Yes, that's an interesting question. Tompkins never mentioned the Greys. He basically just talked about the reptilians. He talked about the Nordics, and I didn't raise the topic during our interview. I don't recall seeing it in the book. But the book deals with Tompkins' life up until 1970. I think that when it comes to Tompkins being involved in this Navy extraterrestrial education program, that's probably where the different races will be mentioned and where the Greys will be mentioned. And that's probably where he'll talk about that in his subsequent book, or the next time I get to see him, I can say, well, who were some of the other races that the Navy was aware of.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Michael Salla.
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Dr. Salah. How are you doing? I don't want to ask a hostile question. We're really enjoying your knowledge here. But one thing that keeps pissing me off is whenever I hear about, poor Phil Schneider, the engineer, who was one of the first people to really come out in a big public way and talk about these underground bases and such, and what was done to him. I mean, many of us believe he was murdered. And here you're maybe because you're not an American, you were never attacked or shut up. I mean, look what they did to him. And I guess that's the second part of the question. What do you know about underground bases around the world and what's going on there?
Thank you for the question.
Well, just to kind of correct you there, yes, I did actually pay a price. I was a full-time university professor when I got involved in this issue, and within 3 years of me becoming involved in this research, I was kicked out of the university system. Basically, all of my research, my PhD, all the grants meant nothing because I couldn't find a job in a university anymore, because now my name was blackened because I was a researcher of extraterrestrial life. So I have paid a very significant price here. I'm still alive, thankfully. Unfortunately, Phil Schneider, they kind of did what they did to him in 1996. What do I know of underground bases? I think the information that both Corey Good and Tompkins have revealed substantiates many of the things that Phil Schneider said. And that I think history will be very kind to Phil Schneider, that people will basically look at him and say that he was a truth teller, someone who was eliminated because he was spilling the beans on these underground programs. And that unfortunately he went active at a time when the when there really wasn't any protection for whistleblowers who were revealing this kind of information. It was only in 2001 with Korea's Disclosure Project that there seemed to be a lot of protection for whistleblowers to come forward. And Stephen Greer highlighted that none of the 400 or 500 or so whistleblowers that he personally interviewed, none of them have been harmed as a result of their disclosure. So I think basically in 2001 there was a major change in terms of the protection that whistleblowers would get for revealing what they knew.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Michael Salla. Who's calling?
Hi, Michael Salla. This is North Carolina, Jimmy.
How are you?
Missy, how are you?
Hey, Missy.
I am well, sir. I hope you are. I hope you are well.
It's all good.
So I've been listening, and I just keep wondering what it would be like to be you, Mike. And I'm wondering, with all that you have seen with your own eyes and perhaps touched or held in your hands, what drives you and what you do, what would you be maybe the most compelled to say to those of us that are lending you our ear at this moment? I'm interested to know what you think would be the message, perhaps, from you yourself, sir.
That's interesting, and thank you for the call, Missy.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Sure,
Mike. What drives you?
I'm an educator by profession. That was something that was very important to me and continues to be important to me. As I mentioned, I was a university professor, and I was very interested in revealing what was going on around the world as far as the things driving international conflict, because I, like many others, we want the world to be a more peaceful place, and so global peace was something that really drives me, and so that was what drove my research. And when I became involved in this extraterrestrial phenomenon, I really saw it as being something that if people could be educated as to what was really going on behind the scenes with all of these extraterrestrial projects, we could make the world a better place and promote world peace through the disclosure of this information. And so that's a very powerful driving force for me because, yes, I very much believe in world peace, and I think that as we disclose this information, as people are educated about these advanced technologies, about the presence of extraterrestrial races, and about these different space programs that are being put into place, that we ultimately can make the world a more peaceful place, a better place where everyone is going to be uplifted and experience things that they could scarcely dream of. What Corey Goode describes as a Star Trek society, I think that's certainly at a minimum what we can achieve. We could probably achieve even more than that.
Did you see did Tompkins have any kind of list with references to, like, not only Corey, but maybe Mark Richards or other secret space program guys? And, like Gary McKinnon, you remember Gary McKinnon when he was talking about this exact thing, off-world Air Force commanders and so forth. This is exactly what he was referring to. And did Tompkins know of this and the secret space program specifically?
Tompkins was not aware of the operational aspects of the Solar Warden program
Right.
at the time of. There are different phases in Tompkins' career. he was first involved in the kind of design and the development of the Solar Warden program, and then he was involved because Solar Warden, according to Tompkins, went operational in 1984, which again matches with what Corey Goode has said. In 1985, Tompkins began working for the Navy League. And he was in a leadership position with the Navy League from 1985 up until 1999. was an educational program. So he was involved in that. And that's where he had a list of Navy officers who were involved in this extraterrestrial educational program. And some of that would have, I guess, involved the operational aspects of the Solar Warden program, but at least from the perspective of the extraterrestrials who were out there in space, talking about how the Nazis had joined in with the reptilians in conquering different Nordic worlds out there in the galaxy. So that was part of the history that certainly was being taught. And so Tompkins was aware of that. As far as the current operational aspects of the Solar Warden program is concerned, and of course Corey Good refers to it as the Secret Space Program Alliance, because the Solar Warden program has been augmented by the defections of units associated with other space programs when this blockade went into effect around the solar system in early 2000 and sometime in 2005. Tompkins is aware of that, and he's been given access to some briefings on the current operational aspects of Solar Warden. He's mentioned some things, but at the moment he hasn't given me the go-ahead to talk about that.
Where do you think, do you think that Greer, and I know that you guys are friends and we're friends, but do you think that he's handled it the right way to push for disclosure? Then you have, Stephen Bassett and his push and the way that he's dealing with it. And we're still not, pretty much any closer to any official response. What's the best way to go about this, or has it already happened?
Well, Greer really has done a phenomenal job in putting together all of these video and recorded testimonies of the various whistleblowers he has interviewed over the years. This is primary source data that helps us understand the big picture. So he really has done a great job in putting that together and in lobbying Congress to take action on this. And I believe that Congress and various people in the programs took Greer very seriously because they recognized that he was someone that was, in fact, being helped by a group of extraterrestrials. Unfortunately, and this is where I part company with Stephen, is that he does have a filter, and unfortunately it's a filter that basically says that the only extraterrestrials...
we lost you, Michael. Okay. You need to repeat... Hold on, Michael, listen. You repeat everything from Stephen has a filter forward.
Sure. Stephen has a filter where he believes that there are only positive extraterrestrials that exist, and that any whistleblower talking about negative extraterrestrials is part of a disinformation campaign. That's very unfortunate because that's his filter, and it means that he doesn't seriously consider alternative whistleblower testimony to what he has in his database. And actually he filters out some of the testimony of the whistleblowers that he actually did interview that did talk about this negative extraterrestrial presence.
Yeah, and he's pretty. I want to say this in a nice way. He's pretty strong about it too. He does not bend when it comes to that, and he will. He's what's. I'm trying to be polite here. He won't consider anybody else's opinions on this, and I find that unfortunate too as well.
Well, the thing is that since Stephen Greer did that pioneering work with getting all of these whistleblowers to come forward, there have been quite a number of other whistleblowers who have come forward. Of course, the Project Camelot, Kerry Cassidy, Bill Ryan, researchers like Paola Harris. I've also been able to get a few new whistleblowers to come forward. These new crop of whistleblowers who have come forward have been able to offer a kind of more unfiltered perspective on what is really going on. So, Stephen Greer's corpus of whistleblowers give us a valuable information of what's going on. And then since 2001, there have been a lot of other whistleblowers who have come forward. Not all of them, I think, nearly as accurate as I believe Corey Good and William Tompkins are, but nevertheless, they do reveal some important information.
What's next for you?
Well, I'm just going to continue doing this work, investigating the Bill Tompkins case. There's another whistleblower who has come forward who has also worked with Navy intelligence. He worked out of Moffett Airfield in San Francisco at the Naval Air Station there from, I believe it was 1986 up until 1989. And he had access to thousands of documents. So I'm trying to get in touch with him. MUFON has his report, and hopefully I'll be able to collaborate with the people in MUFON to compare his documents with William Tompkins and do the cross-referencing, because they have very similar backgrounds, having worked with naval intelligence out of these air stations, doing these debriefings of information concerning aerospace programs, and then disseminating that to different programs, which again is kind of similar to what Philip Corso did with Army Intelligence, with the Research and Development Branch out of the Pentagon from 1961 to 63. So it seems that there have been multiple programs of disseminating this technology that Navy or Army Intelligence has gained through its various assets to various aerospace corporations. So I'm going to be doing the work in cross-referencing these different Navy intelligence assets with the documents that they have in their possession, and kind of see how all of that comes together with what Corey Good and other whistleblowers have said about the secret space programs.
One last phone call. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Michael Salla. Who's calling?
Hello, Mr. Salla. This is Allison. And I just have one question, and I'll take my answer off the air. I was curious to know if Mr. Tompkins spoke or had anything in his information about the inner Earth contingent that Corey Good talks about. I know they were talked about from the German contingent, and I was just curious if there was any linkages there. Thank you. Thank you for all the wonderful work you do, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alison, for that question. Yes, William Tompkins has only referred to extraterrestrial bases, subterranean extraterrestrial bases, whether they're Nordic or whether they're reptilian. Also, subterranean bases that have been created through the different space programs, whether it's the Nazis or the Navy or the other branches of the U.S. military. This is something and interesting, and that he also mentioned that underground facility off the coast of Malibu that I know you kind of helped break that case, Jimmy.
Yep.
I followed your work in that case. So that was something Bill Tompkins also said, that yes, there's a underground Navy base there. But
wait. Whoa. Tompkins mentioned the Malibu base directly?
Yes, he said that there was an underground facility off the coast of California. I mentioned Malibu, and he said that, yes, that was something that he was familiar with.
Really?
That's right. So there is so he was basically confirming that structure that you helped reveal or disclose to the public that was something that the Navy uses as an access into its underground facilities that it has under the Pacific and under the west coast of the United States.
Okay,
the Navy does have those.
I can't have you leave on that note. You want to hang for 10 more minutes after the break?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got to talk about this. You just blew my brains out onto the studio walls here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Michael Salla is with us. And I guess we're going to come back and talk a little Malibu. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Another winter, another cold and flu season. This year, try Sweet Annie's Herbs FACS formula. FACS means flu, allergy, cold, and sinus relief. Vitamin C, echinacea, golden seal, and propolis. Nature's antibiotic and antiviral remedy. Karen from Springfield says, amazing product, a miracle worker for me. Go to sweetannie.com and order FACS today. Use promo code TALK for free shipping. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. TalkStream Live, now available in the iTunes App Store.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99, and you use the promo code Jimmy, and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Michael Salla is with us. Fascinating conversation. And here we go, the Malibu base. And, you know, Michael, we were talking about Phil Schneider earlier. I would have loved for him to have been around, for the Malibu conversation and the reveal. And what he might have known about that, too, as well. And it's interesting that Bill Tompkins mentions it. Do you think he was did he reference the Malibu base as we know it, as you know it? Is that what he was talking about?
At the time, he was talking about these underground bases that the Navy had access to, that there was a kind of network of these underground facilities that had been built a long time ago, and some of them were being used by the Navy. And so I just said, well, there's a facility off the coast of California around Malibu, several miles out, that was publicly discovered, and is this an example of the kind of base that the Navy or entrance to an underground facility that is being of use? And he said yes, that was an example of something that was being used. I did get him on tape, so I'll have to kind of go through that again to get his exact response to that, to be precise in my answer. I don't want to misattribute something to him, but definitely yes, he said that there was something off the coast of Malibu that was an entrance to the underground system in the United States, that Navy submarines could travel through that.
We have, and myself personally too as well, I have spent days until my eyes were burning purple. I've looked on every coast of every piece of land on planet Earth looking for something similar to what we found off the coast of Malibu. Okay, it's just something similar. Nothing. And I'm talking about up and down the coast of the east coast of Russia, China, all the way through to the Mediterranean, the Indian Sea, India, around Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Greenland, United Kingdom, Baltic, Black Seas, Dead Sea, every piece of coastline, and including Antarctica, and have not found anything that remotely resembles what we found off the coast of Malibu.
Well, that's right. There's definitely access points for the Navy in terms of testing its facilities, or testing its submarine fleets, and to be able to access facilities inland. And I think the most important one was the China Lake facility.
Yep.
That you can, if you can draw a line from that Malibu point, it's really possible that there is an access point to China Lake, and we know China Lake is the biggest naval kind of testing facility in the United States. That was also the place where Tompkins says he was taking his intelligence briefings from the Navy spies to China Lake, that Caltech had a facility there, or was helping the Navy with its R&D. The Nazis were able to use, basically the Nazi space program kind of had piggybacked on what the Nazi Kriegsmarine or the submarine fleet or the Navy was doing, rather than the Air Force. So people look at the Luftwaffe as being the place where the Nazis were making these breakthroughs, but no, they weren't. It was the Kriegsmarine, it was the German Navy, and it was the submarine fleets, because it actually makes sense. Because when you're thinking of sealed submarines that could stay underground for extended periods, that's very similar to developing spacecraft that could go out there. So the Navy was doing this, and the Navy the German Navy was very expert in finding these underground locations that they could access using submarines. And I think that at some point the US Navy had done something similar, and certainly there are access points in Antarctica that the Nazis had found, and according to Bill Tompkins, there are access points underwater into the U.S. continental shelf, and that Malibu facility was one of them.
The stories, it's the old adage, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And the story that goes back, I think it's in 1960s. There's a couple of Navy guys that are at an airport in Las Vegas. They get spirited away, taken out into the middle of the desert, right? Dropped off, and a hatch opens. They go and they go down, and they jump on a submarine, and they go to the coast of Malibu. right? And they pop out in Malibu. There's lots of stories like that. And I was going to, there was something else. Oh, we were talking about China Lake. China Lake is the largest Navy base in the world, and it's in a desert. It is huge, and it's in a desert. And one would have to ask, why? Well, if you have the Malibu entrance right there, and you're right, you draw a line, and it's just it's so close. Most people don't realize how close China Lake is to Malibu, and it's right there. It's right over the mountains, and then if you continue north off of China Lake in a straight line, you hit Area 51. That's another interesting take.
And the interesting thing here, Jimmy, is that if Tompkins did go to China Lake to deliver these debriefing packages on the Nazi flying saucer technologies, and so China Lake is where Caltech was working for the Navy in basically developing or reverse engineering these Nazi craft. And so these Nazi craft, as I mentioned, kind of like doubled also as submarines. And so from China Lake, developing the technologies that the Nazis had pioneered from China Lake, you could basically use these underground tunnels to test these prototype models that were being developed by the Navy out of China Lake. So I think there's definitely a connection between China Lake, the development of the early prototypes, flying saucers, and then what's off the coast of Malibu there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I as a kid, probably like yourself and most young men, when you look at the Nazi war machine and you just look at it compared to what everybody else was doing at the same time around the world, I don't want to discredit Nazi scientists and say that they weren't smart and that they weren't good at weapons development, but everything that they had was light years ahead of everybody else. And you just have to stop and ask yourself, where did they excuse me, I just hiccuped. Where they got this vision. It was just so different than what everybody else was doing in an economy that was severely taken back after World War I and nothing but recovery. And they just, boom, just everything that they did was so different and so forward thinking.
Well, the key that keep in mind here with the Nazi technologies that were being developed during the war is that the Nazis got so close to winning the war with conventional military armaments that were being constructed very quickly in occupied Europe during the height of these massive aerial bombing campaigns. But at the same time, in Antarctica, the Nazis were moving forward with these anti-gravity technologies without any kind of interference at all from the war. So from early 1939, which is when the first Nazi base was established in Antarctica, up until Admiral Byrd's Operation High Jump in December of 46 and January 47, the Nazis had basically 8 years of uninterrupted development on their anti-gravity technologies, and so they just got so far ahead so that when Operation High Jump tried to basically assert control over what the Nazis were doing down there, they just got blown out of the water.
Did Tompkins have any references directly with the bell, the Nazi bell?
I didn't talk to him about the Nazi bell. What he did say was that there were 30 different Nazi prototype craft.
Oh, We lost you, Michael. I think we lost Michael for real this time. Are you still there, Michael? We have lost Michael. Okay. Let's do this really quick, and I'll get him right back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Michael Salla is our guest tonight, but we can't leave on that kind of note. We have to say goodnight. I'll get Michael back, and we'll pick it up from there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds, and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest, who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923, and like them on Facebook, and you'll be included in contests and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses. The Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Yeah, that was pretty funny there, Michael. Right as you started talking about DeBell, boom, cut off.
Yes, very interesting synchronicity there. But as I was saying, that the Nazis were developing all different types of propulsion systems. And one of the systems that they developed was a kind of teleportation, a dimensional phase-shifting technology. That was one of the things that the Nazis were trying. And also that the U.S. Navy was also doing Tompkins did talk about the Philadelphia experiment. So, that was kind of something related to what the Navy spies were relaying back from Germany.
When do you think he'll be ready to go full tilt? Maybe television or speaking at conferences and so forth. Is he ready for that? Is he prepared for it, I should say?
Well, he is. He's 92, and he's physically okay, but definitely he's not someone that could be easily kind of subjected to long air flights and so forth. So I think that as people can invite him to attend conferences and so forth, but I'm not sure if that is something that he can easily do. I know he did attend a conference, the West 2016 conference, which is the premier naval conference. Every year they hold that, where the top aerospace companies come together and talk about their products and their plans. And so he did attend that, and some interesting things happened there concerning the Solar Warden program that he at some point hopefully will be ready to reveal. So I think he's definitely capable of doing a public lecture, but I don't think anything too rigorous. Probably easier for him to just do kind of telephone interviews.
Did really quick because we're at the end of the show. Did you ask him about Mark McCandlish and the ARV, the alien reproduction vehicle? Did he know anything about that?
No, I didn't ask him about that. He's just kind of like there were so many documents that he had, and we were just focusing on those documents and what they meant, what their relationship was to the various projects.
And what about his top secret clearance and his signing of that? 10 years in prison, $10,000 fine, and so forth. Has all of that expired? Is he bound by any secret oaths?
Well, that's the interesting thing, Jimmy. He still has his top secret clearance.
Right.
When he went to that West 2016 conference,
right,
he was able to access a classified briefing using his documents. So he is still kept in the loop. He is still a consultant for the Navy on this subject matter, which is very interesting because, as I mentioned, he's been officially retired from the aerospace industry since 1984, but then he did work with the U.S. Navy League from 1985 up until 1999, and then in the year 2000 he moved to the San Diego area and has been since playing this consultant role where he says even though he's not paid, they still call on him to be a consultant and keep his security clearance valid, and he's disclosing this information with the full awareness of the Navy. And as I said earlier, he has said explicitly that he is part of a U.S. Navy sanctioned disclosure initiative beginning in 2001.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much, Michael. And what's the best way for everybody to get a hold of you?
They can just go to my website, exopolitics.org, exopolitcs.org, and there they find all my documents and articles and contact information.
And they can get your books from there, too?
They can get it from there, or just go to Amazon.com and just enter my name, Michael Salla, and you'll see a list of my books. So thanks for having me on the show, Jimmy.
Yeah, and I want to announce we're going to have you on Coast to Coast this Saturday. So we'll take things a little bit deeper over on Coast this Saturday. Come check us out. Thank you so much, Michael.
You're welcome. Aloha, Jimmy.
Yeah, aloha right back. Michael Salla. That was a fascinating conversation. And, yeah, Michael will be my guest this weekend on Coast on Saturday night.
also with David Jacobs. So David Jacobs and Michael Salla Saturday night on Coast to Coast. I want to thank Michael for coming on tonight. That was one of those conversations. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Check this out. Do you remember last year when I was talking about the Solar Impulse? You remember the solar power plane that was flying around the world? Well, now Solar Impulse 2 has made a successful test flight in Hawaii. Speaking aloha with Michael Salla, where it has been grounded for repairs since last July. Okay, we're sitting in tomorrow's March 1st. The flight lasted an hour and a half. It reached an altitude of 8,000 feet. The flight enabled technicians to run checks on the stabilization and cooling systems, and it looks like everything is cool. The plane completed nearly half of an unprecedented round-the-world journey without using a drop of fuel before battery damage during a 5-day leg from Japan to Hawaii. 5 days, it got grounded. And I remember last year where they were saying we're going to spend 6 to 8 months in Hawaii. And now they finally have done their test flight. So maybe I was thinking about this earlier today. If it all checks out, does it still count? Or should they just do it all over again? That's just me. Should they do it all over? Does it count if you do an 8-month layover in Hawaii? I'm just saying. All right, now look, tomorrow is Super Tuesday. So this show kicks off tomorrow night at 7 p.m. live. What is going to happen tomorrow, Super Tuesday? And what will we be talking about tomorrow night? It's going to be interesting. Tomorrow night, my guest is Brad Olson. And Brad and I are going to be talking about conspiracy being the new norm, that everything is fake. And we have a long list of stuff that we're going to be discussing tomorrow night. There's going to be no 9/11 and no JFK, okay? But everything else is on the table, and we've got a really cool list of subjects tomorrow night. And that is going to be a not-to-miss show. And then Wednesday, I want everybody to make sure that you go to I'm backing up here. To go to Robin Maxwell's website. Her book, Atlantos, we have it here. It's like 600 pages. It's an encyclopedia. It's fiction. It's about Atlantis with all of the correct research behind it in this story. It's amazing. Robin Maxwell is on Wednesday. You've got to go and check out her book. All right, that's it. This has been Fade to Black. Thank you to Michael Salla. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, Brad Olson. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. Cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I want everybody to be safe. Go Backley Tappy.